Whether you're a man or whether you're a woman, you're human. And you're funny.
Thank you.
And you're brave.
All right, well, at least now they know I'm not full of crap.
Have you always wanted to be a comedian?
Yeah, it was the result of a severe blow to the head.
I was traveling all over the country. I was a headliner, living the dream. But something was gnawing at me. I thought maybe I was gay. I reached this point where I couldn't avoid my truth anymore.
So in case you didn't know it, I should tell you that I'm transgender.
That's not normal. Then the other side of me is going, that's normal for you. I married really, really young. It was doomed from the start. I was the dad, and I wanted to be the mom.
To me, it was an awful betrayal. Her kids immediately wanted no part of her.
I was devastated.
I made the decision to prioritize fitting in over my family.
I still feel like a lot of guilt around the whole thing, so. You know, I tell people my dad's coming, and then an old woman walks into the room, and I'm like, hello, father, and it's very confusing.
You know, dear, I've had a good life. You take my seat on the lifeboat.
Obviously, sweetie, it's a yes.
The fact that you were here to see this amplified it like 1,000%.
You were like always this like sad sack, and I hate life. Now I think you're so much more fulfilled and so much more joyful.
I really gotta go. You gotta be happy. It's about quality of life.
Bonjour, bonsoir, dear friends. Welcome to JCB Live. We're very excited today. It's gonna be an exceptional live. Why? I'm gonna be surrounded with three beautiful women. It's actually gonna be my first foursome ever on the screen. And we're gonna start with a beautiful lady who is a Golden Globe nominee, an incredible screenplay writer. She writes, she teleplays, and she decided to direct and produce one of the most amazing, compelling, and moving, incredible film that is called Julia Scotti, Funny That Way. And when you're gonna see what it's about, it's gonna really impress you. And I'm a big supporter of the world and people deciding to be who they wanna be, who decided to choose the direction they choose and go for it and assert themselves and live the life they want to live. I'm an enormous supporter, dear friends, of life is a theater and you live it the way you want to act it. So Susan, I'm delighted to bring you on and to introduce our other guests and tell us all the great things you're doing. So welcome on JCB Live, Susan Sandler.
Hello, hello, hello. I toast you. Thank you for that beautiful introduction, Jean-Charles. It's just a delight to be here. And it's a delight to hear you talk about the pleasure and the joy of being your true self, the pleasure and the joy of living the life that you're meant to live. And that's what this film, Julia Scotti, Funny That Way, is all about. That's the heart and soul of this story. Just as you're doing exactly what you were meant to do, loving every moment of your life. You're such a great model of someone who is completely embracing joy in his life. That's just what drew me to Julia Scotti. I met her here on Nantucket, where I am right now. She was performing at the Dreamland Theater. I fell madly in love with first the performer, and then I began to understand everything about her story. And everything in her story told me that this was someone who I wanted to know more about. I began to work with her. I'm a playwright and a screenwriter, and I began to work with her dramaturgically on a one-woman show. And that evolved into what is now a movie that took us 6 years in the making, that tells the story of Julia's journey, everything about her return to comedy, and the wonderful, wonderful reception she's feeling in the world as a performer, as a comedian, as a writer, as an incredible talent. So she's with us today, the amazing Julia Scotti. The film is now screening all over the world on the wonderful streaming services of 1091 Media. And you can find it on Amazon Prime and on iTunes and all kinds of wonderful platforms. So it's my pleasure to introduce Miss Julia Scotti.
Wow, Susan, thank you. What an introduction. Congratulations. And we'll go back to you, Susan, shortly with your eye and your sense of vision. Voilà. Bonjour, Julia.
Bonjour.
Cheers.
Comment allez-vous?
Ça va formidablement bien. Je suis très heureux, enchanté.
Okay. Right back at you.
So great pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
So, I know, Susan, you have, a question for Julia, and I think you should stage it, because how did you come to discover Julia? How did that happen? And how did you both connected? And Julia, you have a lot to tell us, of course, but Susan, tell us a little more about how did that happen, really?
Well, like everything good in life, it's all about falling in love, And I was introduced to Julia by a comedian friend of ours, Jane Condon, who brought her to Nantucket for this wonderful show that she was on. And intuitively, everything about meeting her, understanding the work she was doing, understanding her storytelling. The stories that I've told in my life as a screenwriter are all about finding what matters in life. And what I saw in Julia and in her story was exactly that kind of journey. And we began to talk about what was happening in her life, just journalistically. And that evolved into the idea of a documentary that would give us her story in entirety, the story of where she was and where she arrived.
So Julia, tell us a little bit about this story, because this is quite amazing. But I know we have another phenomenal lady that should be part of us, Cathy Caldwell, that is with you in this wonderful production that everybody on our show will see. And keep in mind, ladies, tonight we have people from Asia, Europe, United States, and of course, South America, all over the world. So you have a very international crowd, and I know it's available everywhere. So we want to make sure everybody sees it. Hello, Cathy.
Hello.
Where'd she go?
You came in.
I am here. Yes, I am here. It's okay. Here we go. Sorry about that.
There you are.
Oh, little. I thrilled to be here. Thank you very much.
Oh, we're delighted. So, how did you, Susan, meet Cathy as well?
Cathy was part of the Julia Scotti entourage. And
she was the entourage. That was it.
All right, you're gonna have to tell us more.
Well, very similar. Sorry, Susan. Very similar to Susan. I had seen Julia perform at a show, and I thought, boy, there's a lot to this woman and what she has to offer. And I introduced myself after the show as a comedian myself, and we started talking. And she said, "Let's have lunch," and I said, "Sure," and I didn't think she was serious. So, but then we started talking, and I really liked what she was doing, and I thought, I'll help how I can. And so we started working together for about 6 years. And as I said, similar to Susan, just saw the potential for people to understand the joy that she brings to others and her special message. And then obviously meeting Susan, and every time I turned around, there was a film crew there. So we spent about 5 or 6 years doing that, but it was great. It was really a fun experience. And to be able to see Julia's story told on
That's right.
in such a meaningful and honest way is really a special thing to see, and people's reaction to it.
Well, that's right. So let's go to Julia now, because Julia, you're going to tell us about honesty and authenticity. I think we should maybe, as we stage this, because a lot of friends with us tonight may not have looked at the subject matter and may not have looked yet at the preview and the trailer of the movie. So Tell us, Julia, about those two important words in life, being honest, authentic, true, and asserting yourself and being yourself and being who you meant to be.
Well, if your viewers don't know, why not, for crying out loud? No, if you don't know by now, I'm transgendered. I transitioned about 21 years ago. I was a comedian before that, though. I was Rick Scotti from 1980 to about 2000, and then I dropped out, mostly because I was getting older and I wanted to teach. I went back to college and became a teacher. And while there, I came to the realization that I had issues plaguing me most of my life, but I came to realize that I was transgender. And so began the long process of transitioning. It's a long, complicated, I'm simplifying here, but
how do you, Julia, forgive me to interrupt, of course, but how did you realize this? And I know it's outlined in the movie, but give us, for many friends we have who've lived similar experiences, it's a difficult thing sometimes to share. You've decided to do so and to be public about it, which we applaud you for and we thank you for. Give us what went through you to realize that.
I'm old, so my generation doesn't really have a lot of experience, or didn't have experience with the idea of being transgender. So when my entire life, my early adult life, I knew something was kind of off kilter about me. I couldn't put my finger on it. And I thought, perhaps I was gay. And every time I tried, it just wasn't who I was. And at some point, I met my then wife, Kate, the love of my life. And she's a psychologist, and she helped me realize that I was indeed transgender. And interestingly, the minute that sunk in, it was instantaneous. I felt better. I felt everything was right. All the pieces fit, and I never looked back. And it just here I am, 20 years later.
So you never look back, but as you said, your generations obviously has been a lot more silent about.
Well, not silent, just not knowledgeable. There was no knowledge of it. I mean, the earliest, Christine Jorgensen, who was probably the most famous trans person, who coincidentally had her surgery the same year I was born. So I don't know if there was some sort of cosmic thing going on there, but then there was only, in this country at least, Dr. Renee Richards, and I think I'm leaving someone out, and I can't, but there weren't a whole lot of examples. Plus, there was no internet. So there was a dearth of information. You couldn't find it anywhere.
Yeah.
And so you're in this dark, dark place, and you're just sort of groping around going, what's wrong with me?
And what was, as a qualifying question, the psychological journey? How long did it take you through this psychological exercise to really realize, okay, that's maybe what I should be?
Well, as I said, once I realized what it was, once Kate showed me, well, not showed me, but brought me to that moment, it was instantaneous. But then began the process. And the process is, as you said, is very complicated. It began with me going to a psychologist and getting permission to go on hormone replacement therapy.
Yeah.
And then my doctor, I had to find somebody I trusted, and it happened that he was gay. So I felt very comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And from that point on, you have to, at some point you have to live your life as your new identity. And I was a teacher at the time. And I began my teaching career as Julia. And at the end of the year, I had to get approved for surgery by 2 psychologists. So everybody had had something to say about what was going to happen to my body, but me. And I always point out that if a cis woman wants to have breast implants or ass implant, I'm sorry, can I say that? Butt implants,
Did.
okay, or a nose job or a facelift, they get it done. Nobody questions it. But a trans person has to jump through hoops to become who he or she is. It's so weird. It's very, very weird.
Do you actually think you related to that cosmic birth that you had at the same time as that other person had this understanding? Do you think in life it was for you meant to happen at the stage it did and how? And obviously you went on national television as the first, to appear in 2016, which is a big deal. And so do you think it was meant to be? Do you think there's a certain amount of destiny in life that brings you to be that public figure today that discuss all those?
Yes, I'm a big believer in the chaos theory. All these little events of your life lead you up to wherever you are at the moment, and where you are at the moment is exactly where you're supposed to be. And so, did I know I was being led to that moment? No. As a child, I had no clue. But when the moment presented itself, I said, "Okay, here's the moment. I'm gonna do this," and I did.
But that takes enormous. As I'm sipping on JCB 21, I hope you ladies are enjoying this, and you're going to tell me a little bit about it, Susan or Cathy or Julia. It takes enormous courage, Julia, to do this. As being personally born French, we've been extremely, as you know, understanding of all those topics since the 70s. I mean, I was born in 69, raised in the 70s, from contraception to abortion to gay marriage to the whole LGBT movements to transgenders. I think, and maybe that's because we're such an old historical culture, people don't really mind of anything you do as long as you are who you're meant to be. And I really love that. And here, obviously, you must have lived some major challenge. Do you want to share some of that and how?
I just want to, if I could take a step back though to what you were just saying. The trans people have been around forever. History is filled with them. Native American culture in our country reveres trans people. They call us two spirits. They look to us for wisdom. Although in my case, don't do that. Right? He's like, no. But we're, and everybody it has some male and some female in them. My group, my trans group, we're just acknowledging it now. We're just bringing it to the public. There was a lot. It was difficult to go through. I lost a lot. I lost my children in my life. I lost friends. But I got so much more back. The people that are in my life now, priceless. And two of them are right here. So,
so we'll come back to your children and family. I agree with you. I'm a big fan of Egyptian and Greek mythology as an example. And as you said, since the beginning of time, we've been talking about the body being both.
Mm-hmm.
And even a tertiary person, specifically in the Egyptian mythology, which is an animal.
Right.
Or a combination of both. So how can we assume sometimes that we meant to be just one over the course of one life? For that matter, many of us believe in reincarnation.
People create their own beliefs based on everybody around them.
Yeah.
And everybody wanting to be part of the majority and not stepping out of the pack. And I hate to use that pack animal phraseology, but that's what it is. If you're willing to be honest with yourself, really truly honest, and follow what's here, it's not that difficult. But it's getting to there. It's a long walk.
Well, you need to explain us that, because I'm a big fan of Nietzsche, the philosopher that you all know. And, you know, his big statement number one is, are you in the herd, as you just referred to, or are you outside of the circle and accept to assert who you really are and be who you want to be? And that's that whole existentialist approach to the world today that we finally, I believe, centuries later, are allowing the society not to weigh so much on us that we go for it. But for you, which I'm so impressed of your courage, how long was that journey? Because you referred to it as your friend Kate and psychologist. How long was that exercise where you say, I'm going for what I believe?
I began at age 49 to begin the process, began to get therapy. And I finally, I was 51 when I had, I traveled to Montreal. Dr. Broussard up there, who's a preeminent physician at that time, there weren't a lot of them that could do the surgeries. That could do the surgeries well. He was sort of an artist. And I made this joke about when I was shopping for a doctor, the early part of the internet, and these surgeons who did this surgery would have albums online that you could look at vagina after vagina after vagina, and I guess pick one, the one you wanted. I went with the Rosalind Russell model. I thought that was, just so you know.
I need a refresher on that one.
Well, it was either that or the Jamie Lee Curtis.
Well, doesn't look too bad from what I remember it in A Fish Called Wanda, right?
Yeah.
He was not out of water in this one.
No.
So let's celebrate. Susan, I think you should give us the description of this first wine, because you're the intellectual as well, Susan, to have, you know, identified this amazing subject to bring to the world. And so cheers to you. Those bubbles are from Burgundy. Those are Chardonnay Pinot Noir. So when we talk about this bubble, feminine, masculine, in both combined to create this wine. A white grape, a red grape together, the association of two personality. One often called, as I said, feminine, maybe Pinot. Chardonnay, maybe more opulent and rich, masculine, creates this perfect alchemy. So how would you define it, Susan, the wine, as you're tasting it?
I think it's energizing in a very sensual way.
More, please.
Yeah, I'm
it makes me want to play.
Ooh. Ooh la la.
Yes.
Oh, Jesus, now I know what to get you for Christmas.
Well, he's looking. He's maybe enjoying. So, Susan, you met Julia. So give us the context of your life and yourself as I mentioned in the introduction, Golden Globe nominee. You're an extremely talented writer, from screenplays to all different kinds of writing. Give us what in the New England world that you live in, which we qualify as fairly conservative in many ways, you know, very much of a certain, you know, typical environment. Give us the journey.
Well, I don't live in New England. I'm here in the summer in Nantucket with a lot of folks who come to this beautiful island in the summer. But I live in New York, and I teach film at NYU in the film school there. So that's New York is my world. But I think, you know, what I'm interested in as a storyteller is what drew me to Julia, and the idea of the new material of documentary filmmaking. Everything that I've created before this has been in narrative film and fiction, where I've been inspired by real life. I've been inspired by complex characters that I know and have observed. what was so exciting and such a great journey that I've been on for these 6 years now of working on this film. Now, the last piece being bringing it out into the world, the giving birth part, has been as a writer, working as a screenwriter, now a storyteller working with beautiful, real materials of documentary. And what Julia has given me in an incredibly generous way, which is the key of what I think strong documentary is about, is a beautiful, complex subject, central character, whose life is, of course, one that you feel enormous curiosity about. And all of those materials, and what Julia gave me in those materials were the beautiful archival materials of performance when she was Rick Scotti, her journals and letters and poetry. And she just opened up every drawer, every closet, and so generously allowed me to walk out of her home carrying boxes and boxes and boxes of the story of her life. And for me, as a writer, as a storyteller, and now as a director-producer, that was a complete bath that I took in all things Julia. And the work of making the film and telling the story and bringing in my wonderful collaborators, the very gifted editor, Marsha Moore McKeever, who I work side by side with every day in the edit room, the wonderful composer, Matt Hutchinson, the wonderful animator, Sam Roth, the very, very gifted editing consultant, Louis Erskine, who, my darling Louis, who gave me so much inspiration along the way. All of these collaborators surrounded me in helping to find the story inside of the complexity and beauty of all of these materials that really is the mosaic of Julia's life. And that mosaic is what I shaped with great care and great love and tenderness. And that's, I underlined 3 times, a tenderness, the telling of her story. And the golden pot at the end of the rainbow is the friendship that I have now with Julia. And that friendship means that I get to talk to her almost every day. I get to hear what she's working on. She has a new album that she's recording in November that I know is just going to be incredible. She's just written a stunning play that I hope to help produce. So, as an artist working with another artist who I both admire and love, this wasn't just the simple project of picking up a subject and telling the story. It was a whole journey of investing myself, my art, everything that I bring to a project that I care about, with the intention of being truthful. And I'm so happy that the film is out in the world. And I'm so grateful that you're helping us tell people about it, because that's really the next part of the process, is delivering the story to the world. So thank you.
If I could jump in here too, if you don't mind.
Of course, Julia.
I am the comic and performer and human being that I am, mainly because of Cathy Caldwell, who called me out every time she called BS whenever I was dodging the truth, and she guided me with my work, and because of her, I was in the position where Susan Sandler could have seen me at the Dreamland in Nantucket. So Cathy Caldwell, and I see her tearing up over there, but
I stubbed my toe. Fine, don't worry about it.
We talk about cosmic
Peak of excitement, we could tell.
Well, we talk about universes meeting, Jean Charles, and
yes,
ours was truly, like with Susan, of the universe bringing us together, and that's all I'm going to say about that.
And I love that, and I love this cosmic and very much ethereal approach, and I really believe the time was meant to happen. Why, Susan and Julia, specifically, did you think it was so important at this stage to come out with a story? And so why? And then Julia, how did you get convinced to do it? Because it is a very big deal. it's a big deal in a way that, you know, is having such an impact on the world and allowing so many people to see the way. So your influence is so many folds in so many cultures, and the cultures you think are much more pressing and less democratic and certainly less free as well, even though we think ours is not free enough. So 2 questions, ladies, as we're going to be sipping on a little bit of a rosé because
we're doing the rosé. Okay.
So Susan or Julia, if you want to start, either way.
Go ahead, Susan.
You know, the intention for this film was not political. It was not an agenda that said I have a goal to open minds. It was really absolutely a story that I felt compelled to tell. And
yes.
That, you know, along with the wonderful joy that Julia brings to everyone she touches, along with that, her story is going to open and change minds.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think is what so many documentaries want to do with, you know, great kind of mechanical effort. There's no mechanical effort here. It's really Julia's story is so inspiring and so honest and compelling and accessible that I think she is going to reach so many people in so many positive ways. The fact that she trusted me to tell her story is the next part of this conversation.
Maybe we'll ask Cathy to describe the wines for a moment.
This is very light and refreshing. It's I don't, yeah, is it a little fruity? It's a little fruit taste to it. And it's very nice, and it's refreshing. It's warm here today, so it's very, very nice. But Susan, did you try the rosé yet? Oh, she's getting it now.
She's going for it, and we made it a screw cap with butterflies, as you see.
I know, that's beautiful. What's the background for that? What's the?
Well, we love the butterfly because the symbol of Wattle Creek is all about transformation. And the butterfly, you know, we wanted to really exemplify this wine, which is our winery in Alexander Valley in Sonoma, to the story of Julia, to the beautiful narrative of Susan, because, you know, the butterfly is one of my favorite. It starts in one shape, evolves after weeks, suddenly becomes this gorgeous, beautiful, with wings, you know, dream that inspires us. So it's all about transformation and the evolution of life. And no better wine than as well a digradational rosé, which is in between a white wine and a red wine, to represent, you know, Julia's life. So this is why I really wanted for us to enjoy Wattle Creek and why we love butterflies in the wine country, besides the fact that they're beautiful. They have a big meaning about how you become always something different than what you meant to be. And you can have different shape, different minds, different spirits, and you evolve, and they're all beautiful.
Did you pick these wines because of that?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were very excited because we really believe, you know, life, should it be one tranquil flow, or should it be the evolution of the flow that you believe you should follow? And similar to wine, you know, you have fermentation and then a second fermentation, and you didn't have to become rosé. You could have become either white or red, but here we are in between, in that gorgeous color that is very zesty, very crisp, as you said, very fruity.
Julia, you're very fruity.
I'm very fruity. I'm very zesty.
You are. Many people have said that.
I got.
Wow.
Yes. I'm sorry. I'm in Jersey here. The allergies kill me this time of the year, so that's why I was choking to death. But don't let that stop you.
When you choke,
what's a good wine to choke to death?
Wine, Julia. It's always the solution.
What? Drink some wine?
Yeah, that's the solution.
The answer to your question was about, what was your question?
Well, the question is, you gave, 5 years of your life for this amazing production. It was obviously when Susan reached to you, I'm sure you said, wow, do I really want to do this? And so forth. So tell us a little bit about this and the commitment and the excitement now that it's out.
Early on in my transition, I was still teaching young children, 6th grade children. And I read a statistic that something like 40% of the transgender people in the country, in US, attempt suicide. And I did some research, and I found out that nationally, everybody, inclusive, the amount of people that attempt suicide was something like 0.02. I mean, it was a minuscule amount of people. So for 40% of the trans community to attempt it, never, forget being successful at it, just to attempt it was abhorrent to me. So I said when I came back, if I have a voice, I'm going to use it, and with the hope of educating people about this, and teach cisgender people that we are just like you. We have the same needs, the same wants. We want to love. We want to be loved. We want to work. We contribute, and some of the major contributions to America have been made by transgender people. Cathy can vouch for this. The inventor of satellite radio was transgender. I mean, we wouldn't have GPSs if it were for trans person.
We'd all be going around lost.
We would be drinking wine out of your mind, because so when Susan came along, there was no question about it. And at that point, I hadn't done America's Got Talent, but that just sort of dovetailed with it, to be able to come out in front of 13 million people. Yeah. And now to have this movie to sort of, push it even more into the public eye. It just, again, the universe working in a beautiful way.
And how has the movie now been received?
Well, I think just fantastic, don't you? We're here. Susan's here. Cathy's here. Everybody loves the movie. There were people lining up at the box office, and they're going to be there for a long time because it's not playing in movie theaters. They're buying it. It's flying off the shelves, and it's really, really popular. And I suggest you get it. Have you seen it, Charles?
Well, I've seen only the trailer at this stage, but I will see it in the next few days. I guarantee you.
Don't make me come out there.
Hey, and anytime you visit the Napa Valley or the Sonoma Valley, we'll put a big screen, which we have, and we'll invite as many guests as you wish. We are an enormous supporter of anything here in San Francisco and Northern Cal about, make your own choices, and we support it all. So we're delighted to be part of it, and we will, anytime you decide to jump on a plane and come and see us.
Well, you know what I would do? I'll tell you what. There's a theater in San Francisco called the Throckmorton Theater, and if you want to sponsor my coming out there for a one-woman show, and then we could have a tour out to the vineyards. You could show the movie. We could put a real thing together, a nice thing.
I love the idea. So tell us about the performance you do these days as well. I mean, besides the movie coming out, you have a full performing acting life, as we could see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a stand-up comedian. That's what I started to do. That's my passion. That's my wine, if you want to use that analogy. I'm as passionate about what I do as you are about what you do. I've been doing it since 1980. I've evolved again. My comedy has evolved, and now I'm moving to a new level. I feel with this, especially with this new album, because it's pulling away the layers of the onion. I'm still learning about myself as a human being, as you know, as we all should. We continue to grow, and that's what I'm thinking. This album kind of reflects that. So.
Well, give us a taste of the new album.
Okay, I'll give you one line.
I'm going to serve red wine now.
Let me think about this for a minute. All right, this line is not, well, no, I'm not going to do that. All right, here, this is an opening line. When I was transitioning, when I came out to my friends, a lot of my male friends looked at me and said, why would you want to become a woman? And I said, oh, I don't know, because my salary is too high. You know, and it makes the comment about women's rights and work, you know, so it's got some social commentary, it's got some bite to it. And of course, I get a much better reaction in a club than you just gave me from that joke.
I love it. This is so great.
We've heard this before.
Yeah, I know you have, but you could have faked it.
I know, like I usually do.
I know you did.
So, Cathy, tell us about how, as we serve the red wine too, I hope.
Yes, it's coming. Yes, my bartender is on it.
Part of this amazing production.
I'm sorry, repeat that.
How was it to be part of this incredible movie production for you?
It was really surprising. You know, it took, when we first started filming, I think we were both, Julia and I both were probably like, okay, this probably, you know, this will peter out somehow and we'll stop doing this, and it won't. But then Susan she's so thoughtful in what she's doing and so driven, and she just really understood that this story was continuing to evolve. And so then we just she kept putting layer after layer on it as things kept happening in Julia's life, and kind of weaving it all in there, and just the thoughtfulness that she had in, you know, getting in touch with Kate, and, you know, talking with the kids. And it was just a lot that she put into, and her thoughtfulness for everybody in the movie, and how it would be presented, and the impact of it. We, when I was still managing Julia after we did AGT, the number of letters we had received about people feeling included, or feeling like, thank goodness, somebody that I can identify with. And
right.
we received such an outpouring that when Susan wanted to do you know, when the movie started to come about, I thought, this is really something people need to see. And in a wonderful person like Julia, who is putting it all out there and trying to get people to live their best lives too. And so for Susan to capture that on film, and capture some of the tender moments and some of the funnier stuff, and then even when Julia was with Dan in the living room watching some old footage, I think, you know, that's very poignant.
Dan is my son.
Yeah, exactly. So so the process for me has been fun and entertaining, but also educational. And both learning from Julia and learning from Susan about how to treat the process has been really, really fun and a good time. So I thank Susan for all of her hard work. I can't even imagine the number of man hours that she put into this love of her, you know, of her project.
Woman hours.
Sorry.
That's all right.
So Julia, earlier on, you mentioned it was difficult for your family. You gained millions of new friends and incredible friendship that you would not have had otherwise, but some were left behind in a sense. And you mentioned your children. Would you want to share something about this?
Well, just briefly, they were young when I came out, and again, this was 20 years ago, and in the area that they live in, not a very sophisticated area, you know, and so something like this was scandalous, you know, and I didn't want to embarrass them, and I was asked, you know, to back away for their sake. And as much as it broke my heart to do that, I did. And I kept trying to reconnect over the years, and it was to no avail. And then a funny thing happened. They grew up. And they began to see the world, and they went to college, and they saw other people like me. And I think it just opened their world, and they blossomed.
Can I say something real quick?
Sure.
On that note, when Julie and I started working together, I remember she said to me very specifically, I don't think I'll ever talk to my kids again. I don't think they will ever talk to me again. And I said, you never know, time heals and what have you. And she was like, no, it'll never happen. And fast forward, that was 7 years ago, 8 years ago. And the relationships have been reestablished. And I think Susan's film has gone a long way to helping people understand the process. So anything's possible. So never say never.
The thing I think about with the film too is had I, no matter what I did, had I not transitioned, had I just stayed in their lives, they would have grown up. And I still don't know what my relationship would have been. So it could have been horrible. And so it speaks to having to follow your heart. I followed my heart, and I felt like I could never tell them to follow theirs if I were dishonest and hypocritical and not followed my heart. And so I think now that they're older, they do understand that. I mean, that's what
And Julia, you did this realization at 49 years old. You look back, would you have wished you had done it at 34 or 32, or you rather think it was meant to happen?
I don't even play that game. You know why? Because it just is what it. I keep. Well, I can't read it here. It's too far away. But there's a quote from Anais Nin on my wall, and it's about remaining the pain of remaining tight in the bud. Well, it became unbearable. It was more painful to stay in the bud than it was to blossom. And I just couldn't stay in the bud any longer. I had to blossom. And once you realize the truth, and once you feel free for the first time in your life, to not have come out, I would have made another prison for myself.
Yeah. So on that note, Julia, what do you, as we're having this deep, rich Cabernet, what do you recommend for others all around the world? And luckily we have friends tonight with us from all parts of the continent, the 7 seas, as we call it. What do you advise them to do if they have those questions, feelings, emotions? And I know you do that very well in the movie. I've seen that in the trailer, but tell us.
Everybody has an inner voice, and that voice is never wrong, unless you're a psychopath and it tells you to go out and kill people. Then that's wrong. Don't do that. But life choices about what you like, even a career. If you want to be a musician, say, there's going to be people from the time you're a child who tell you, don't be a musician, you can't make a living at it. But that's not why you become an artist. You become an artist for the love of art. And you're never going to be happy if you can't create your art. Well, the same is true with gender, my issues. I would never be, I only come this way once. Why would I want to go through life miserable? It's all about the quality of your life, not what you amass, not the quantity of things. It's the quality, and I have the highest quality life I could ever imagine.
Thank you for sharing that. And Susan, I know you wanted to add something.
This is just such a lovely celebration, Jean-Charles. Thank you so much. All these beautiful wines. I'm enjoying every one of them. I love the dedication that you have brought to everything that you make.
Thank you.
And I'm so looking forward to hearing from you after you watch the film. I think you're going to be very surprised. There are a lot of surprises in this journey. And one of the things that you will meet along the road is the extraordinary resilience of Julia Scotti and the resilience that she teaches us about what it is to follow your truth and what the strength that one gets from following that truth. And I'm sure that's part of what you do in your own vineyards. You know, the idea of the strength of what you're making and the strength of what you're building and the resilience of those grapes. It's all about what is honest and true. That tastes so wonderful. So I
Well, thank you.
salute you, and thank you so much for having us and for sharing this film with your audience. I'd love to hear from folks who watch it. They can reach us. Julia Scotti Film is a website for the film, and Julia Scotti has a lot to tell you about what she has coming up.
Back to you, Julia.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Susan, for your kind words as well. And we want to hear about maybe part 2 as well, right?
Part 2 of my life?
Tell us, Julia.
Geez, I can't imagine what else I could do at this point. I really, you got me thinking though now about coming out there and doing a show in the vineyard and showing the movie.
Yes.
I like that. I like that.
Let's make that date.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, the vineyard and the table, as I always say, is non-judgmental, welcomes anyone and everyone from any part of the world, any skin color, any religion, any beliefs. And we are human beings, all deserving to be on this planet for all the reasons that we were brought on it. And we meant to express ourselves the way we wish. And the vineyard is that inclusive place, and that I hope you feel safe place to say what you wish to say and to express what you want to express. So, you know, you're all welcome. We should definitely plan it. And I want to ask Susan, I hear there's maybe part 2 coming. Is it true?
I don't know about part 2 of the film, but you know, there's very much part 2 of the creative flow that has grown from the film. As I said earlier, Julia has written a brilliant play that I'm really excited about supporting. She has a wonderful comedy album that she's recording in November that will be out. She's done a great recording for Dry Bar, which is a really cool platform. And all that I celebrate is the family of artists around me. And I do second her idea that when we get past this moment of people not being able to assemble inside, when the Throckmorton is open and running, I would love Julia on the stage there, and then celebrate the film with a screening at your vineyard. I think, Julia, you've just programmed a brilliant weekend. It could be a wine and comedy weekend. And that celebrates all that you have done, Jean-Charles. So,
well, thank you, ladies. And I would like us to not to say goodbye before your big statement to the world. And I know we've kept you because what you're doing, all of you, is fascinating in every part of what you do. And I really want to commend you for that. And obviously, Julia, for being who you are, and Susan, and obviously Cathy for having been part of it, and Susan for writing this unbelievable script and play and incredible movie that we're all going to watch. But leave us with a wise or non-wise. We've lived 18 months of challenging time. But beyond the last 18 months, a big statement, each of you, about what everyone ought to do in their life. And maybe not as a prophecy, but maybe just a suggestion, as you wish to say it.
Susan?
I say, living your truth is the path to joy.
Wow.
Julia? I'm sorry.
You are the sum total of everything you've ever done in your life. And everything you've done in your life has brought you to this moment. Embrace the good and the bad of your life, because you learn from it and you grow from it, and keep growing and stay in the moment. Don't worry about the past. Don't worry about the future. Stay in the moment. It's all you have.
So well said. Thank you. Julia, maybe Cathy?
Be kind. You never know what people are going through. Just be nice.
Ladies, I can only, with my two hands that God gave me, applaud you, and I have shivers of really excitement of how you ladies really represent the world present and forward and what everybody's going through. And from your talent to your determination to your courage to your willingness to be authentic and vulnerable and obviously, you know, honest, and having the courage to do what you've done is phenomenal. So not only are we thrilled to have spent the last hour together, to share our wines together, symbol of transformation again, the butterfly, but as well to do more together and to really encourage people to be who they're meant to be and who they want to be, and to live life the way, you know, they want to live life, and to let us be who we want to be and let it be. So, you know, the Beatles said it, let it be. Shakespeare said it 4 centuries ago as well in a very good way. So congratulations. This has been an amazing, phenomenal time together. And, you know, we'll replace that mug with a great glass of wine, Julia, I promise you. Even though I love your mug.
Well,
I know you have
thank you.
wine in there.
I do. I do. Oh, it's
Hey, we
fruity.
don't judge your taste by the vessel you hold. So, ladies, congratulations. We cannot wait to welcome you in California, of course. And we wish you the phenomenal end of summer. And thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank
you.
We loved it. Welcome to JCB Live.
Whether you're a man or whether you're a woman, you're human. And you're funny.
Thank you.
And you're brave.
All right, well, at least now they know I'm not full of crap.
Have you always wanted to be a comedian?
Yeah, it was the result of a severe blow to the head as a child.
I was traveling all over the country. I was a headliner, living the dream. But something was gnawing at me. I thought maybe I was gay. I reached this point where I couldn't avoid my truth anymore.
So, in case you didn't know it, I should tell you that I'm transgender.
That's not normal. Then the other side of me is going, that's normal for you. I married really, really young. It was doomed from the start. I was the dad, and I wanted to be the mom.
To me, it was an awful betrayal. Her kids immediately wanted no part of her.
I was devastated.
I made the decision to prioritize fitting in over my family.
I still feel like a lot of guilt around the whole thing, so. You know, I tell people my dad's coming, and then an old woman walks into the room, and I'm like, hello, father, and it's very confusing.
You know, dear, I've had a good life. You take my seat on the lifeboat.
Obviously, sweetie, it's a yes.
The fact that you were here to see this amplified it like 1,000%.
You were like always this like sad sack, and I hate life. Now I think you're so much more fulfilled and so much more joyful.
I really gotta go. You gotta be happy. It's about quality of life.